frame. Cool. Okay, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. All right, well, welcome back, everybody. So we are here at the Boost Creek with Harvey. And standing over here is Steve from Salta Motorsports. And on the dyno is a 2016 Golf R.
That's right.
So Steve, what have you just put on the car?
So, just recently, the last thing that we did was we put the Tomioka IHX475.
475, yeah.
And that was an upgrade from the standard IS38 that comes on this car. And yeah, really just looking for more of what it can do outside of stock.
And part of the motivation for that is this car had a turbo failure.
Right.
And it sounds like on this car that's not entirely uncommon for the stock turbos to have an oiling issue.
I think there is an oiling issue with them. My turbo, it was recycled from an engine that saw some real abuse, so it didn't last long. But I have had complaints, and other customers talk about failed IS20s and IS38, so yeah.
So it had a failed turbo, you're looking for something maybe a better design. But of all the Tomioka turbos, this is the smallest one. So why, and that's specifically what you wanted, what you were looking for.
Right.
So why is it that you were looking for the smallest turbo? Like what's the long-term plan for this car where a small turbo is actually the right fit?
Well, we picked the smallest one because this is going to be a American Rally Association rally car.
Okay.
So it's going to end up running on a 34 mil or smaller restrictor, depending on the new rules,
Right.
and maybe even boost pressure limit. So we want something that would breathe more and be better functioning and more durable, but we know that going very, very big is going to be counterintuitive to having a restrictor.
Yeah,
So-
and with ARA, they're starting to monitor boost pressure and cap it at what, I think it's 22 PSI?
They might even go down to 18.
18, yeah. So really low boost pressure, so
Right.
knowing that that's what you're going to do with the car, the biggest turbo you can find doesn't make any sense.
No.
Because you can put it under those a restrictor and a boost pressure limit.
Right.
You know, the gains are going to be nominal. So
Right.
that's how we landed on this. So Harvey, basically what we did today is we got a baseline.
Yeah, this
So-
is the first Golf R we've had on the dyno here. It's an honor to have it here. It's really cool. I like the Haldex system. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what did you see just put on the dyno and the rollers? What did
And
you-
it's what I've seen on a couple other Haldex cars, and that's that the Haldex system tends to move power back and forth really smoothly, but in kind of a repeatable way, but it's kind of strange, and as a rally car choice, I think we talked about this, I would think that it would upset the balance at different RPMs as you get front wheel drive, rear wheel drive tendencies. But really neat, and I'll say we've been sitting here talking about why the numbers are so low compared to a lot of other shops, some of the other places like Cobb even, using dyno jets, and I have a dyno jet reading here that's a bit higher than the reading that this dyno reads, and it actually spits that out. But here is the Haldex moving the power on. That's my biggest impression. I'll say this though. The big thing is that it's making as much as 330 at the wheels, which an STI, even on ethanol, could never do, tuned all the way up. Typically I see about 260, 270, and everything I will reference, unfortunately for everyone watching this that's a Volkswagen person, is the fact that all I do is Subarus. I've done well over 10,000 of them, and I love doing them. They're just a thing here in Colorado. But anyway, a Subaru would never make this power unless you put ethanol on it and put it at like the 24 pound of boost. This is on 91, making this power. It's actually very impressive. It spools very quickly. And like all direct inject cars, it tends to make really good power.
So what were kind of the peak power number and the peak torque numbers that we saw in the polls?
About 360 is the peak torque and 330 is about the peak power, which is just very respectable for this dyno. But I think it'd be interesting to see how that matches up to other readings people have gotten with similar mods. Right now I still haven't tuned one of these cars. I would probably want to do it on a standalone myself, but yeah, I like this car a lot. I think it's, from what I hear, the hardware is just absolutely indestructible. The biggest worry you're going to have is the DSG staying together compared to the engine.
Well, we had plenty of guys run TCR the whole season with DSGs, and plenty of endurance guys, and they say they're fine.
Yeah, I'll say I heard a rumor once from some friends of mine that this turbo was capable of hitting 50 pounds for just a moment. The stock turbo was, and that they had some problems with the DSG because of that, but they were able to wrangle it back down. And they didn't run out of fuel at 50 pounds either on the direct injection on gasoline, which which was kind of a cool
That's crazy.
piece of data, especially since it has provisions for port injection as well. So
Yeah, we've
sky's
really
the
gone
limit.
much further.
Yeah, well, so to fill out the details on this car, so it is the DSG car.
Mhm.
So it's the Golf R, so it's all-wheel drive DSG, so it's a paddle shift.
Mhm.
But other than that, at this point, pretty much stock engine and drivetrain on this, right?
Yeah, there's no.
I guess it's got the Cobb intake on it.
Sure. Yeah, it's got downpipe exhaust stuff, intercooler, and the Cobb intake, but the engine, long block assembly, and all the main hardware is 100% Volkswagen. And same with the DSG 6-speed that's in this is stock clutches, stock everything, no updates there at all. So,
Well, and so Steve, because you're the Volkswagen guru, can you explain a little bit more about what the Heldex system is? Because if people are coming from Subarus and they're thinking about the mechanical all-wheel drive system where everything is connected through differentials, the Volkswagen Heldex system is a little bit different.
right. So the Haldex system, unlike your normal Subaru where you have your center diff and your front diff, and it's all connected by some physical form.
Yeah.
This one, it has your normal front axles, and it has a transfer box. And that transfer box is always driving the primary drive shaft of the car. And then the back at the front of the rear differential is a multiple plate clutch pack.
Okay.
And then the computer selects a hydraulic pump on or off to close or lock that up to give you four-wheel drive or not, and vary it.
So the all-wheel drive system on this car is entirely controlled by the computer.
Correct.
And it started life as a front-wheel drive system that was
Correct.
converted. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And it's really similar to the original TT Quattros, A3 Quattros. All that is still based on that Volkswagen front-wheel drive with added four-wheel drive.
Okay.
So a lot of you internet guys think that that's outlawed in rally, right? But it's not the Audi Quattro system.
Well, they're allowing it back in now.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
and the DSG, that was one of the motivating
That was
factors.
new this year too, was in rally and a lot of them they said that you couldn't run a true gear-on-gear paddle shift style transmission, and that you also couldn't run electronic controlled front or single axle differentials, and they've now allowed both of those.
Oh, good.
And since it's a factory car, I think it makes sense to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's probably because it's those kind of things. There used to be like only the top tier race teams can have them, and now they're in production cars.
The other thing might be it was an unfair advantage. Like people say that they always talk about the Audi had the unfair advantage, but nowadays you can say, hey, this unfair advantage is available to everyone, and it's actually a safety advantage more than just an unfair competition advantage. It's a safety advantage for the racer.
I'm sure that the fact that it's now widely available is a big motivator.
Right.
Like there's so many cars that are starting to have that.
Yeah, I mean, the production DSG was developed by Volkswagen in the original Mark V GTI. So now that's been since 2006. So they've had more and more iterations of them, and they get stronger and stronger.
Yeah. I mean, so when you say stronger and stronger, what is like kind of for the engine in this car, maybe in the drivetrain, like what would be the max you'd want to shoot for with the stock engine and the stock drivetrain?
From talking with more than a couple guys that are racing these cars, and hopefully we will soon too, it sounds like right at the 500 horsepower limit is where the engine, you really start having to mess with a lot more internal
More
engine stuff.
liability concerns.
So I think anything under that, no one's really had any complaints about failures.
And DSG?
DSG, I think it is about the same, because those
Okay.
guys haven't had issues either. So a lot of the 400 plus torque numbers and high 300 horsepower numbers are totally achievable without issue. At least it seems like.
Now, as far from a rally standpoint, you're probably not going to shoot for anywhere near that power number. But the stress they're going to be putting on the drivetrain, I mean, just having the car slide and like the variance in traction, are you going to try and dive into the Heldex and try and get that to work more in your favor from a rally standpoint, or are you initially just going to try and keep the thing together?
I think
and start driving down the dirt?
I think I've had a couple of tests on dirt in various situations with good result. There's nothing that I feel I mean, there are some handling issues that need to be addressed to make it feel better in dirt, but I think right now it may retain stock, but eventually the Haldex, opening up the Haldex controlling system and getting that to be a more mappable, controllable front, rear.
So you can control the behavior.
Right, would probably be
Yeah.
definitely in the future.
And we'll move the camera around so maybe Harvey, you can show us exactly what you're seeing in the dyno where.
Oh, sure.
Because this
yeah.
dyno, you were actually able to show or to see how the traction was moving
Oh,
from
yeah.
the rear.
Yeah, I'd love to show that. That's great.
But so I mean that's definitely something. The other thing is with the kind of finishing the rally build on this car, you're going to be putting a restrictor in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you got to put a restrictor in, and then if there's boost limits, so come back and probably that's how you're going to finally tune the cars with the
Right.
restrictor and with whatever the ARA's boost limit is.
Right, correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's going to have to be the other limiting factors that, and I think to keep those guys and all the rally drivers safe, you have to, limiting that makes sense with,
Yeah.
with the modern car, but it's really going to have to be turned down quite a bit
Yeah.
to even
Yeah.
get that. I mean,
How much
a
boost
lot.
pressure do you think we were hitting today? Roughly?
I think it hit 29.5.
I saw that. Yeah.
I've seen from data logs through the Access port, I've seen 31.
Wow.
So, and I think that it was hitting those higher boost numbers on the smaller turbo before that one failed because of a lack of CFM. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't need as much boost to hit the number you want when you have a turbo that's flowing more.
It's flowing more.
Right.
Sure, yeah.
So I saw an immediate drop in overall boost levels, a couple of pounds once I went to this turbo.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And we should also mention too, at this point, because you don't have it in the configuration that you're going to finally run the car, this is just bolting on the turbo and then running with an off-the-shelf Mac.
Correct. Yeah.
And one of the reasons we brought the car here today was just to make sure that it's running safely, which it is.
Mhm.
But so that's basically changing the turbo, but just with which map are you running?
It's on stage 3 off the
on
shelf.
stage 3.
Mhm. Yeah.
So pretty respectable numbers for just a little bit bigger turbo
Yeah.
and not a whole lot of fuss other than that.
No, not too much.
There was one other thing I wanted to mention, which you noticed, it sounds like you noticed in this car, with the stock turbo and with this one, which is the inlet temperatures.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like, so the car is making a lot of boost pressure, but you notice that the inlet temperatures sometimes tend to get a little bit high.
I have seen intake air temperatures of, well, even today we saw 520,
Yeah.
Wow.
520 degrees Fahrenheit.
Fahrenheit.
And where is it measuring that from?
I believe that is measured through the map sensor. Yeah, it should be the intake map sensor right there.
Okay, so
Also
right
it's
on the
sensor.
manifold. I mean,
Right on
that
the
is,
manifold.
that is a number pretty much right before it goes into the cylinder.
Right.
So
So what would it be? Pre-intercooler.
Pre-intercooler?
Yeah.
hotter than
Post turbo pre-intercooler. You're talking about 600-700 degree temperatures.
that.
Yeah, I think the
Over 3 times as hot as your engine cooling.
I think the
Yeah.
the bigger intercooler is definitely a requirement on the bigger.
Sure.
Yeah, obviously, even Cobb says anything above stage 1, you're supposed to put an intercooler on it.
Sure.
I think there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
It's not to, I think, really control the intake air temperatures. It's really just to manage them and bring them back down when you get off boost. Because it does
Sure.
recover pretty fast. Even you saw that.
Yeah.
You know, you see 500, and then we let it sit here, and not
30
very long
seconds later,
it's
yeah.
it's 100 degrees.
100 degrees. Yeah.
So
Very
It's-
good.
It's really interesting. I mean, Harvey, from a tuning standpoint, I mean, obviously the car is running okay with that kind of an inlet temperature, but I mean,
Yeah.
would that pose some obstacles, you think? Like if you were to try and actually tune this car to try and make max power, or would you just kind of...
I don't know. I still gotta say, I'm questioning where that temp sensor is still.
Yeah.
I can't believe that's post intercooler.
I'm sure it was
but-
not the sensor that I had a hairdryer on it.
Yeah.
That was not the one.
That's incredible. So I'll
Yeah.
say if I was tuning a car, I've actually seen a car that was a pro mod sort of car one time, and he had no intercooling, he was running ethanol, and it was hitting about 300. That was, I think, the hottest intake temps I've seen until today. So
Well,
that's pretty amazing.
now thinking about it, there is the boost pressure sensor in the post intercooler to throttle body hose. It could be that one. I'd have to check.
That would
But-
be interesting, because another thing would be neat to do is to then take a second sensor. They make those gauges. I've even seen one that look like
Yeah.
aircraft gauges.
Before and after.
Yeah, they have 2 needles and they show you the temperature before and after the intercooler. I love
Right.
that gauge. I think that's so neat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so wild that the temperature's getting that hot. But
Yeah.
obviously, I mean, the car is okay with it, and it's making
Yeah, it was a
plenty
smooth
of
thing.
power and
Yeah.
torque.
Yeah.
Would you say that, because you're just running pump gas on this, right?
Yep. It's it's top tier 91.
Yeah.
That's it. Nothing fancy.
Knowing that the intake temperatures are that high, Harvey, would you say that E85, that would be something that would be an advantage? If
It
you
would,
were-
just the octane, but honestly it has nothing to do with the charge temp. E85 won't change that. But what will is being limited to 20 pounds. I can't imagine how much cooler that's going to be. But it's when you're limited to 20 pounds in restrictor. That tune, I want to see what those temperatures reach, because I'll bet it's only going to be 300 or so, which is still so hot.
Yeah.
So what I see on the direct inject Subarus from the factory is that they start at a little hotter than ambient, about 90 degrees, if it's 70 in here, and they heat up to about 170. When we put a front mount on that car, it'll start at 90 and drop to the ambient 70 instead of rising to 170 through the pull. And then when we take them out on the street, they just drop the whole time. You can do 4 or 5 gears and they're just ambient the whole time. We're talking about the Cobb intercooler, the ETS intercooler, and that's about the ones that drop that much. There's some other front mounts that still drop, but not quite that much.
Well, that is still full air conditioning, full AC condenser as well, so
Yeah.
it doesn't help.
Yeah.
Which is, so.
Well, it's going to be interesting. So, Steve, it's now your job to put the restrictor in it and find out whatever the boost limit is and figure out a way to, well, I guess we'll have to do that with the tune, but so Harvey, maybe we'll bring it back, or you can help us tune the thing and
Sure.
and
I'll
see
give
what
it
the
a shot.
actual what the actual numbers
See if
is.
you can just hold that boost down to what seems like almost nothing.
Yeah.
Boost level wise.
Probably idle pressure.
I'm just curious, is this an electronic actuator, wastegate actuator? Do you know?
Yes.
It is. So it should
Electronic
be,
bypass, electronic wastegate actuator.
oh, then you can run whatever you need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's in the map somewhere.
Uh-huh.
Very cool. Well, Steve, you have to get after it and bring it back and let's see what it actually does.
Yeah, we'll probably, by the time we do that, we'll probably have the roll cage and shocks and whatever else you can think of on
Just
it.
careful you don't touch a single electrical thing in this car when you're
That's
doing that.
That's cool.
They all talk to each other nowadays.
Everything. Yeah, I mean, the
You were telling me
headlights
that.
don't work, you can't turn the traction control on.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
And that's not a joke. That is a true
that is
thing.
100%. You can't select, so adaptive front lighting, the errors I'm getting in it because of changes in the suspension, you cannot deselect traction control by the button or through the MMI through the main menus.
Wow.
And if you do, it'll say not available.
Uh-huh.
That's what it says. So
That's
It
amazing.
is a very finicky car.
yeah.
I feel like you might be a little brave to turn it into a rally car.
Well, after what are we at, 12, 13 years with Volkswagen and Salta, it's not
that intimidating.
It's not as bad.
Yeah.
It is definitely intimidating, but
Yeah.
not like if you were only living Subaru life
Yeah.
and then you went to Volkswagen life.
Yeah.
That's a huge transition.
Guilty.
Right.
Yes, yes.
Right. But
Such a cool platform, I can't blame you. And like the DSG, I mean, that's what so many Subaru people have been dreaming about for years, is to have a factory dual clutch transmission. And just never got one yet. Maybe 2021.
I'm a little blown away that this car, you know, your standard 5-door grocery getter looking car, you know, is making the Evo 10s and STIs kind of, they're just, it's a different platform. It's way beyond what we ever thought it was.
This is the next
Sure.
generation. This is this kind of platform is now it's the next step. I mean, the Focus RS was kind of moving in this direction, and now I mean, the Golf R is definitely a
This
next,
is the German bulletproof Golf or version of the Ford RS.
Right.
Yeah.
It's really amazing.
It's going to be interesting. I'm really curious to see what the restrictor does, but then also what you're able to do with the Haldex and all-wheel drive and for rally. It's going to be wild.
I think it's gonna be wild too, and we'll have some pre-rally. We'll have some unrestricted hill climb tests as well.
That'll be
So,
fun.
yeah, sky's the limit, and we won't have all those boost limit rules or restrictor rules. So, we'll see. As long as it stays on the road, then we'll keep moving forward.
Very
Nice.
Cool. Very
Yeah.
cool. Well, you'll have to get after the car and bring it back, and we'll see what the next step is.
Sounds perfect.
Thanks very much for watching. Stay tuned, and hopefully we'll have Steve from Salta and Harvey from the Boost Creek back and with the next step on this car. So,
Sure.
thanks for watching. Talk to you later.